Let's jump right in and see some outstanding assembly performance improvements in SOLIDWORKS 2021. Here is a great list of assembly improvements, but before we get into the details of each of these, I'd like to talk about what's going on behind the scenes. What you're seeing here on screen is a macro performing 500 mouse rotations and the difference in speed and frame rates when working with Enhanced Graphics Performance option checked versus unchecked. This is a system option that was first introduced in SOLIDWORKS 2019, but beta mode is now over and it's enabled by default. If you're running supported graphics card, you should see an immediate improvement in model rotations, particularly when working with large assemblies. You might not know this, but previously calculating silhouette edges and hidden lines removed and hidden lines visible was performed by the CPU. This task is now handled completely by the GPU and produces huge gains in frame rates and rotation speeds. Driving this is a technology called Occlusion Culling, which determines when part of the model is out of view. Only dedicated resources are used on visible components. This is super powerful if you are a large assembly designer. I was able to get a glimpse of this using a developer build of SOLIDWORKS, and here the technology is paused, so we can see what these initially out-of-view components look like in their culled state. This technology is super common in game design with large environments as they do not render what is not currently in view. I do love gaming, but large assemblies is where my real passion is, so let's flip over into SOLIDWORKS and have a look at what we can do. Here I'm going to open a square robot top assembly model in lightweight mode. As far as opening time goes for lightweight and resolve modes, they are greatly improved, allowing me to open this 2250 component assembly in about 30 seconds. It goes without saying that the larger the assembly is, the greater the gain you're going to see. And like most performance gains, lightweight mode is faster because it only loads a subset of model data into RAM upon open, retrieving the rest as needed. This is convenient because in 2021 there's a streamlined approach to accessing the assembly and feature information. You no longer need to set lightweight to resolved. Simply expanding the component from the feature manager tree will now load the components on demand, giving you access to a fully resolved subassembly or part. This prevents unnecessarily loading data in large assemblies, but also allows you to quickly access and resolve components you're working on. And similar improvements have been made when switching configurations and creating new ones. The performance evaluation tool within SOLIDWORKS is a huge resource when identifying issues in assemblies and drawings, and one of the trickiest of those being circular references. The performance evaluation tool now provides an analysis and reporting of circular references within the assembly. In this case, 2 holes on 2 separate parts have been found to reference each other. So let's investigate a little deeper on what needs to be done to fix this. We will just dig down to the 2 components found here, and one of the components listed in the report has a hole wizard feature where the location sketch has points that are referencing edges of holes on the next part over. External references like this are pretty common, and the concentric relationship locates the holes. If you use display delete relations, we can see there are 2 concentric relationships, but this shouldn't be an issue on the first part. And you know what? Let's take a look at the second. This also has a hole wizard feature, and in it the same thing is going on. Using display delete relations again, I can see that the other part is referencing the edges of the first one. This is the exact definition of a circular reference. Both part features are trying to find the location of the other, and round we go. The best way to fix this is to just remove the external reference from one of those and redefine the location of the holes with dimensions. 2 more tools for assembly performance are SpeedPack and Defeature. The Silhouette Defeature was first introduced in 2019, and it allows you to just create a simplified representation of assemblies to protect intellectual property and proprietary information. or to just save out a simplified copy for use in massive assemblies for performance reasons. Using Defeature here, we get a side-by-side view to show what the finished representation is going to look like. That way there's no guesswork of what we're going to end up with. There are a few methods that we can use to simplify the model using a bounding box or perhaps a cylindrical representation. You can group multiple components together so they come out as one body or one representation, and here I'm going to add a little bit more detail with a polygon method. Here I will include multiple parts in one body, or even add a little bit more with potentially a Typefit representation. A Typefit representation is the one I use the most, and in particular it's for parts like these, which are clamps or cots or common off-the-shelf parts. Maybe something that is downloaded, it has too much detail. In some parts we will still need the hole alignment locations, and for that we can just use a straight copy geometry. The super nice thing about the new Defeature is the ability to save the simplified representation as a configuration within the same subassembly from which it was created. It shows up as a derived configuration in the same place that you would find exploded views, and eliminates the need to manage a separate file with a simplified version. And all of the performance gain that we see this way is outstanding. It also becomes super efficient when you swap it back into the assembly instead of having to replace the component and clean up all the mates. You could just go to that configuration and point to it. It's so similar to the way that SpeedPack works. Both options are just a right-click menu away, and all you have to do is choose to use Defeature.